The sun dipped low over the endless cornfields of Willow Creek, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts across the rutted dirt roads. In this forgotten corner of America's heartland, where the air smelled of earth and impending rain, lived Thompson, a 17-year-old girl whose quiet demeanor hid a reservoir of untapped strength. Her auburn hair flowing like a river of fire down her back was her one vanity, a remnant of her late mother's beauty. But on a sweltering afternoon in the dim confines of Willow Creek High's bathroom, that hair became the target of unimaginable cruelty. 3 bullies, Brittany, Jake, and Leela, cornered her, their eyes gleaming with malicious glee as they wielded stolen clippers. The buzz echoed off the tiles as locks fell like defeated soldiers, leaving Ara bald and broken, tears carving paths down her dirt-streaked cheeks. Unbeknownst to them, this quiet farm girl wasn't just surviving on scraps. She owned the vast Thompson acres, the very land their families depended on for their livelihoods. If this tale of hidden power and sweet revenge has you on the edge of your seat, smash that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. We've got more epic stories of triumph over torment coming your way. Let's unravel's journey step by heart-pounding step. Life had always been woven into the fabric of the land. Thompson acres sprawled across 5,000 acres of fertile Midwest soil, a legacy built by her ancestors who had tamed the wild prairies in the 1800s. Her parents, Amelia and Robert Thompson, were the kind of couple who embodied the American dream. Hard-working, community-oriented, and deeply in love, Amelia, with her artistic soul, had taught Lara to see beauty in the mundane. The way sunlight filtered through corn stalks at dawn, or how a single raindrop could nurture a seed into life. Robert, a practical man with hands cold from plowing, had shown her the mechanics of farming, the irrigation systems, crop rotations, and the delicate balance of nature and machine. But tragedy struck when was 12 a foggy night on Highway 47, a semi-truck veering out of control, and suddenly she was an orphan. The crash report detailed the horror. Twisted metal, shattered glass, and limbs extinguished in an instant. Harlan Thompson, her grandfather, stepped in without hesitation, his grief masked by a stoic facade. He raised her in the old farmhouse, a creaking Victorian structure with wraparound porches and rooms filled with echoes of the past. "The land will heal you," he'd say, his voice rough as gravel roads after a storm. Under his guidance, Ella learned not just to farm, but to command the earth. She mastered tractors by 14, negotiated seed prices by 15, and by 16, she was reviewing lease agreements in secret. Yet at school, she chose invisibility, dressing in faded jeans and flannels to blend in. Her wealth a closely guarded secret to avoid the jealousy that had plagued her family before. Willow Creek itself was a snapshot of rural America, population 2,500, with a main street lined by a diner, a hardware store, and a grain elevator that loomed like a sentinel. The economy revolved around agriculture, families like the Heys who grew wheat on leased plots, the Rimes specializing in soybeans, and the Chens who ran a modest dairy. But beneath the surface of neighborly waves and church potluck simmered tensions, debts, failed crops, and the ever-present threat of foreclosure. Willow Creek High mirrored this divide. The school, a squat brick building from the 1950s, housed 400 students divided into unspoken castes. The elite were the athletes and cheerleaders funded by whatever scraps their parents could spare. Brittany Hayes with her perfectly manicured nails and designer knockoffs led the pack. Her father Tom Hayes was a tenant farmer perpetually behind on rent, his gambling habit draining the family coffers. Jake Ramirez, broadish-shouldered and charismatic, hid his family struggles behind a football jersey. Their over-reliance on chemicals had poisoned wells and drawn EPA warnings. Leela Chen, sharp, witted, and social media savvy, masked her insecurities with filters and followers. Her parents, Derry, was on life support, squeezed by corporate competitors. Together, they formed the Golden Trio, their bullying a deflection of their own fragilities. Alora, arriving each day in her grandfather's battered pickup, became their scapegoat. Her lunchbox of homemade sandwiches drew sneers. Her perfect grades in biology, where she excelled in soil science, earned sabotage. The bullying began innocuously, like weeds creeping into a garden. In freshman year, it was notes passed in class, farm freaks scrolled in pink ink. By sophomore year, it escalated to tripped feet in hallways and stolen homework. Ara's response was always the same. Silence. She internalized Harlan's wisdom. Words are wind, actions are roots. But inside, doubts festered. Was she weak for not fighting back? Nights found her in the barn, confiding in the horses, their soft knickers a balm. She journaled her pain, pages filled with poems about resilience, like one titled Bald Earth, Stripped Bare. The soil waits for spring's kiss. Little did she know how prophetic those words would be. The trio's cruelty peaked in junior year, fueled by their own pressures. Brittany's failing grades threatening her college dreams. Jakey's scholarship hanging by a thread after a knee injury. Leela's online fame crumbling under anonymous trolls. They projected their chaos onto Ara, seeing her quietude as arrogance. That fateful day unfolded with cinematic precision. The school bell rang at 3:15 p.m. Students spilling out like released cattle. Lara saw from gym where Jake had accidentally elbowed her during volleyball ducked into the bathroom. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows. She stared at her reflection, brushing a stray hair from her face. When the door slammed open, Brittany entered first, flipping her hair with faint nonchalance. "Well, if it isn't the little piggy," she cooed. Jake followed, leaning against the sink, arms crossed. Leela brought up the rear clippers hidden in her bag, her impulse theft from the janitor's cart during lunch. Ara's heart raced. She backed against the stall, but Brittany lunged, pinning her arms. "Hold still, sweetie, we're giving you a new look." The struggle was brief, but brutal. Lara kicked, landing a blow on Jake's shin, but he growled and restrained her legs. Leela activated the clippers. The mechanical whine drownings, "Please." "Why?" she gasped. "Because you think you're better than us, hiding behind your books." Leela spat. Hair fell in clumps, each sheer a violation. 10 minutes later, it was over. They laughed, highing as Jake snapped photos. "Share this and you're dead," Brittany warned, though she planned to anyway. They left the door swinging shut, leaving Ara on the cold floor amid her severed locks. She touched her scalp raw and exposed sobs racking her body. Humiliation burned hotter than any sunburn. Driving home, tears blurred the road. Thompson Acres welcomed her like an old friend, the gate creaking open, fields whispering secrets. Harren was in the kitchen stirring stew when she entered. His spoon clattered to the floor at the sight. "Lord Almighty," he muttered, pulling her into a bear hug. As she poured out the story, his face hardened like dried clay. "Those whelps don't know who they've crossed." Over dinner, he unveiled the family ledgers, yellowed pages detailing leases dating back decades. The Hazo of 15 Zallos and in-back rent. The Ramirez's faced eviction for environmental violations. The Chen's expansion plans hinged on Thompson approval. Alla's name was on the deeds inherited quietly after her parents' death to avoid probate drama. "Power ain't for show," Harlan said. "But sometimes it's for settling scores." All nodded, a spark igniting in her eyes. Revenge wouldn't be swift. It would be a harvest, slow and bountiful. In the days that followed, Lara navigated school like a ghost. Whispers followed her scarf, wrapped head. What happened? Freak accident. The photo leaked, of course, circulating via Snapchat, eliciting cruel memes. Brittany posted it anonymously, captioning, "New trend of bald is bold." Jake high-fived teammates in the locker room. Leela retweeted with laughing emojis. LR endured but plotted. She dove into research using the school library's computers to cross-reference lease laws. She discovered loopholes clauses for moral turpitude allowing early termination. At home, she confided in her best friend, MIA, a fellow outcast with freckles and a passion for photography. MIA, whose family owned a small orchard, had witnessed the bullying and offered support. We can expose them, MIA suggested, but Ella shook her head. Not yet. Let them dig the graves deeper. Tension mounted as harvest approached. The fields buzzed with combines, the air thick with chaff. Ara assisted Harlan driving the grain truck, her mind warring. She noticed the haze fields yielding poorly. Tom's neglect evident in wilted stalks. One evening, she overheard Brittany arguing with her mom at the grocery store. Dad's blowing the rent money again. It fueled her resolve. Small acts of empowerment began. Ara joined the debate club, out arguing Jake on agricultural policy. She volunteered for the science fair, presenting a project on sustainable farming that won first place, eclipsing Leela's half-baked social media influence study. The trio seethed, their taunts intensifying. Think a prize makes you less ugly. Brittany sneered in the cafeteria. Ella smiled faintly, replying skin deep. Yours goes to the bone. The comeback rippled through the tables, earning her quiet admirers. The turning point arrived at the Harvest Festival, a vibrant affair with Ferris wheels, pie contests, and live bluegrass under string lights. Thompson Acres hosted the main grounds tents, dotting the pastures. Families mingled, oblivious to the undercurrents. Harlan and his best flannel ascended the wooden stage for the keynote. The crowd hushed as he spoke of heritage, then dropped the bombshell. This land belongs to my granddaughter, Ara, the future of Willow Creek. Murmurs erupted. Brittany midway